A new FBI report that came out showing 1.3 million crimes occurring at public schools all across the country. This is the latest data that came out. It includes over 540,000 physical assaults on school campuses in America. And it's almost certainly an undercount of the true number for a couple of reasons. One, we know the public schools want to sweep everything under the rug every chance that they get. So they don't like any form of transparency or accountability. Whenever they can, they don't report things to law enforcement. And the second reason is that this FBI report concedes in its methodology that only about 9,000 law enforcement agencies sent up data to the FBI on this topic. So I did a quick search, and there are about 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country, meaning that their count is likely about half of the total true number of crimes happening on school campuses. Why is this important? Well, public schools in too many places are prisons for children, one of the only places that they'll ever experience violence in their lives. And kids should have an option to go somewhere else. They shouldn't be trapped with their abusers. They shouldn't be trapped in these failure factories that are violent institutions. And they should be able to take their money somewhere else. So school choice is very important. Iowa led the way, passed a bill in 2023 to do so. And since then, there have been 18 total red states that have gone all in on school choice, allowing the money to follow the child. The blue states need to get with the program. I'm in Washington State right now. They have a long way to go. And the other good news, though, is that Trump's big, beautiful bill included the Educational Choice for Children Act, which allows governors the decision to opt in to this nationwide school choice program that's in the form of a tax credit. I know the red state governors will be first in line to jump to get on that opportunity. The Democrat teachers unions own the teachers unions own the Democratic Party. So the governors in blue states will be less likely to come along, but there is a provision in there that gives them an incentive to come along too. It's kind of like the 21 drinking age, where every state decides to have 21 as the number because it's tied to federal highway funding. Well, in the school choice provision, everybody can donate regardless of what your governor does, whether you're in blue state California or red state Texas. It doesn't matter. You can donate to these scholarships, but your governor is the one to decide whether your students in your state can actually receive the scholarships. So if they opt out, they're in a catch-22 situation. If they opt out, they're going to be going against the will of their constituents, and they're going to create a scenario where California, if they opt out, if Governor Newsom does the wrong thing, which he's a hypocrite, he sent his kids to private school, yet opposes school choice for others, they're essentially going to be donating scholarships to families in Texas and Florida. And so as a Texan myself, I'll be happy if Governor Newsom opts out. He'll be benefiting the residents in my state more so than the ones in his own state if he does so. So maybe some Democrats will come along on the issue. My favorite post of yours is when you respond to the screeching of the other side and their minions and their proxies by just pointing out what the private school they sent their kids to, and just leave it at that. I think those are the favorite post of yours that I see. I love how you do that. It's school choice for me, but not for the hypocrisy. Right. The chair of the Texas Democrats, they fled to Illinois recently to avoid quorum, but his name is Gene Wu. He's in charge of the Democrats in Texas. He went to private school. He sent his kids to private school, yet he wants to pull up that ladder from behind himself and fight against school choice for others. And look, this report with the crimes, I mean, it also included about 50,000 cases of sexual offenses in the schools. We have a sexual abuse epidemic in the public school system today. I mean, even 2 decades ago, there was a Department of Education report that came out in 2004 estimating that about 1 in 10 children would experience sexual misconduct by the educators themselves by the time that they graduate from high school. Wow. It's an epidemic. And you might say that's 2 decades old, Corey. It's from 2004. But there's a new report out that came out a couple of years ago, actually. It's in a peer-reviewed journal. Psychology Today went over the findings, showing that, if anything, it's worse now, that there's about 12%, according to that study, of students reporting educator sexual misconduct sometime during their K through 12 education. So look, school choice isn't a perfect solution to this. They're going to have problems in every sector, but at least you won't be trapped with your abuser like you have in the one size fits all system, and you can go somewhere else. But you also need to reform the public school system as well, because short of abolishing the system entirely, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We need to tweak it and make it better. And there was a bill that passed in Texas this year by co-sponsored, or the primary sponsor was Representative Mitch Little, a Republican. He's actually running for attorney general now. The bill was signed into law this year. It passed, even with some Democrat support, which is surprising. But Abbott signed it into law. And what it does is it abolishes immunity for the public schools and their employees in sex abuse cases. And Steve, I know you're thinking, why in the world did they have immunity in the first place? I mean, those are the questions that parents should be asking. Why does the system protect itself at all costs at the expense of children and their parents just to protect the abusers? It's insane. It's why we have this restorative justice policies in the public schools too, where they protect the criminals and they hurt the victims. And so it's time to push back against the system. And teachers, look, I'm not saying that all teachers are like this. There's plenty of good teachers in the system. In fact, there's a survey that came out from Education Week showing that 41% of teachers identify as Democrats, yet 99% of the union's contributions go to the Democrat Party. It's a money laundering operation. It ought to be illegal, but those teachers can opt out now. And there's a new group called the Teachers Freedom Alliance that provides free liability insurance for those teachers. And so you no longer have to give your dues to a union, whether you're in a red state like Iowa or a blue state like California, New York. You can no longer be compelled to pay union dues as a teacher in the public school system. This is because of a recent Supreme Court case finding that would be a violation of your First Amendment rights. You shouldn't have to funnel your money to Democrat campaign coffers. So you can opt out. And, the next thing I would hear from teachers is that, well, what about the insurance that we get? Well, now the Teacher Freedom Alliance provides it for free. So it's time to defund Randy Weingarten and Becky Pringle, who just scream at the top of their lungs. They're political animals. They don't have anything to do with education, as we saw from their resolutions this year that they passed. Basically read like a declaration of war on the Trump administration. They don't care about educating your children. They care about controlling them and using them for their agenda.
So as far as I know, guys like you and Chris Rufo have done more hand-to-hand combat over the last few years with the teachers unions than anybody I've seen in my entire career, and have probably accomplished the most gains pushing back on them successfully as well. How entrenched would you say, Corey, they still are, despite the fact that they are on defense at times for really the first time in generations? They are forced to play defense at times by you guys. How entrenched are they still, despite the ground that you guys have made up, would you say?
Well, they've been so drunk on power for so long, Steve, that they don't know how to reverse course. So as we saw when I exposed their 434-page handbook online after I found it, after some digging, they scrubbed it from the internet. But they had stuff about white supremacy culture in there. They had racial quotas, which I would argue are a violation of the Civil Rights Act. It's illegal to discriminate on the basis of race. And, they picked their teacher of the year this year from Pennsylvania out of their 3 million members. And this person went on stage this summer and let the mask slip when she said that her job as a teacher of all things is deeply political and always had been. But you know what, Steve, the more that they keep, quadrupling down on parental rights and education, it's almost like, don't let your enemy know when they're making a mistake, right? Like maybe we shouldn't highlight maybe we should keep Randy Weingarten in charge so they keep acting like idiots and giving us more fuel for the school choice movement. The more that they overplayed their hand, the higher the likelihood of us succeeding, not just in red states, but blue states too. And I hope that some Democrats start to read the tea leaves, some of them are saying they might opt into the big, beautiful bill provision that allows some families to get scholarships in their states. That will be a way to break through this blue state wall and empower all Americans to have education freedom. So I'm happy Trump led the way on the issue. And I just got to point out real quick before we go that Randy Weingarten has a new book out, and I dedicated mine to her. And if you look at her book cover, it looks exactly like mine. This is mine, called The Parent Revolution. She used the same color scheme. She used the same font, but in red, where I put the word parent, she uses the word fascist. She's basically calling parents fascist. They think they own your kids, but you know what? We have a new union in town, a new sheriff in town. They're called parents, and we're beating the union at their own game. So look, they can continue to quadruple down, but they're ultimately going to lose the war.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that. Imitation's the highest form of flattery, brother. So congratulations on that. And it goes to demonstrate you all are living rent-free in their head. So that's good. And you've earned that. So the name of the book, The Parent Revolution, from Corey DeAngelis. How can people follow your work, Corey? Because it's outstanding what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you can follow me on X. It's at DeAngelis Corey. You can get the book. It's endorsed by Trump. It's called The Parent